Hello, it's Kristen and it's time for another Feminist Friday. So this time I will be reading The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. This one is a Greek myth retelling focusing on the Trojan War, but centering on the female characters, particularly Briseis, which I'm excited by. I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller last year and I really liked Briseis as a character, so obviously it's a different author's interpretation, but I look forward to following her storyline in this and having more focus on her. Ever since I read The Song of Achilles, I've been wanting to read more Greek myths and retellings and things, and this one has been on my TBR for a few years now, so I think it's about time that I get to it. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to getting into this one. Also, the cover is just so beautiful. There's no indication of what's in the book, but it's just really nice to look at, and I've heard pretty much nothing but good things about this one, and I know that Pat Barker has another one out now. I think it's called The Women of Troy. So yeah, I will be reading this and I will take you along with me and share my thoughts. So I'm 9 chapters into Silence of the Girls, which sounds like a lot, but it's not actually, because the chapters are quite short, which I like, which is also good because I've not had a ton of time to read. I got called in to do some extra sessions at work because one of my colleagues isn't very well, so what I had planned was to read loads on like Monday and Tuesday, because then Wednesday is normally my really busy day, but I ended up having to work like all day Monday and Tuesday, as well as literally all day today, so tomorrow is going to be my day to focus on reading this. I'm enjoying it. I feel like we're coming out of the like scene setting sort of part of the book. We're getting more into some plot. Not that there wasn't plot, obviously the plot is the Trojan War, but I feel like we're learning more about the characters, and we know what like the setting is now, so we can go further with what's actually going to happen between the characters and stuff. So yeah, I'm interested. It is a little jarring because I know the basics of Greek mythology, but I don't know a ton of detail, and the most I know about like Achilles and Patroclus is from the Song of Achilles, and I keep having to tell myself like, no, that was also a retelling, so things didn't happen that way, and this is another retelling. But I'm enjoying it, which is good. I think Briseis is an interesting character, so I'm looking forward to learning more about her and getting to know her better. But yeah, I'm gonna get ready for bed. Might try and read a chapter before I go to bed. I've just got home from work, and then yeah, tomorrow and Friday. I'm only working tomorrow evening for like an hour and a half, and otherwise I don't have to work for the rest of the week. But I do want to finish this before Saturday, because on Saturday I'm going to London, and I sort of don't want to be partway through a book, because I want to take like a fresh book with me for the long coach journey. So yeah, on Thursday and Friday I want to finish this, which I reckon I could do. Short chapters, it's pretty easy read. In terms of like the writing, it's very straightforward. The topics are more hard-hitting, but yeah, anyway, that's my update. I'll update you tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to end up finishing this one today. I've still got quite a lot left. I didn't really do any reading yesterday, despite the best of intentions. Yeah, other stuff came up, so I didn't really get any reading done. I read a bit this morning, but I know that I'm not going to finish this by the time I go on my trip to London tomorrow. So I'm going to take the book with me instead. I'm not going to rush reading today. I will probably read a bit more, a few more chapters today, but I'm not going to rush to try and finish it because I know that I won't. So I'll take the book with me on my trip, and then I do have an ebook from the library on my phone as a backup in case tomorrow I finish this while I'm travelling and then I don't have anything. I have something on my phone that I can get to if I did finish this. Yeah, not really an update of the story, more of an update of where I'm at with reading. I will try and give you a little update of the story, because obviously it's set during the Trojan War, but because it's more about the women and their day-to-day, we don't actually get to see much of the war itself. It's more just their time spent in like the camps and stuff, so it's definitely more character driven and it's slower, and it's just a lot of Briseis's thoughts and feelings and opinions on her circumstances and the other characters, etc. It's a slower story, but I'm enjoying it still. Yeah, I'll read a bit more tonight, I think, and I don't know that I'll be able to update you particularly tomorrow because I'll be travelling and then in public and stuff, but hopefully on Sunday I can give more of a rundown. So I'm now on part 2. I really didn't read that much actually when I went to London. The coach was really packed on the way down, so there wasn't any way to comfortably sit and read. I read about a chapter and then realised it wasn't really working. And then on the way back it was really dark. Obviously there were coach lights that I could have turned on, but I was also so tired. So yeah, I didn't really read a lot. But I have been reading since I got back over the weekend and stuff. And yeah, I'm on part 2 now. A little bit of a change up in that we had a chapter from like the perspective of, or like I think it might have been third person, about Achilles rather than from Briseis's POV. I don't know how often that's going to happen. We're back to Briseis. It was just one chapter that was more focused on Achilles, but we're back to Briseis. Her circumstances have changed, not in terms of like where she is, and you know, they're still in the camp, but there was a lot of infighting between the commanders and the soldiers and stuff, and Achilles and Agamemnon, I think it was, had a falling out, if you can call it that. And yeah, so Briseis, although obviously wasn't in a good position, is now in an even less secure position. I don't know a ton about the Trojan War. I know bits and pieces, but I never really knew about Briseis, so I'm interested to see where this goes with her, because the bits that I did learn about, like the Trojan War and Greek mythology and stuff when I was growing up, yeah, it was mainly about like the gods and the men. It was, yeah, only actually through reading the Song of Achilles that I learned much about Briseis at all. So I'm glad that this is like from her perspective, but it also means, in a good way, I can't necessarily anticipate everything, which is nice. But if you knew more about Greek mythology, you probably would be able to anticipate more than I can. There was a quote I quite liked, which I just sort of want to read. Briseis is in the like women's hut where they're all kept. It said, one by one the lamps would be extinguished, though even in the semi-darkness you could sense the presence of the looms. Gradually, as our eyes became accustomed to the gloom, we could make out the elaborate patterns we'd been spinning all day. So we spent the night, curled up like spiders at the centre of our webs. Only we weren't the spiders, we were the flies. And I really liked that, and I thought it, just that little paragraph sort of summed up the position that these women are in a very like succinct but lovely descriptive way. I feel like I want to just have a couple of days of intense reading. It's one of those books that I feel like I could be enjoying it more than I am. Not that I'm not enjoying it, but I do think if I can just sit and read and I'm not reading it in like small chunks here and there, if I can just read through in big chunks, it'll probably up my enjoyment. So yeah, that is my goal for today and tomorrow afternoon when I'm not at work. Yeah, I will update you when I've read more. So I'm nearly finished The Silence of the Girls. We're getting more and more Achilles POV, well, not POV, because his parts are told in third person and Briseis is first person, but we're getting more and more focus on Achilles, and I don't know if that's like a narrative choice that Pat Barker made, because like even in Briseis's story the focus is on the male warriors and heroes, so like maybe that's what she's trying to say, or I don't know if it's just a narrative choice in that a lot of the big moments that happen like during the battles and stuff, Briseis isn't around for because she's back at the camp while the men are fighting. Either way, I don't know how I feel about it, because yeah, we're not, I mean, yes and no, like losing focus on Briseis. Obviously we still get her POV and her opinions and thoughts on the other characters and the things that are happening, but yeah, I feel like there's a lot of focus on Achilles, which if I'd gone into it knowing it's like Achilles' story from, not even from Briseis' point of view though, because there's some bits that just don't have Briseis in it, but I feel like it's really pushed as it's about the Trojan War but focusing on the women, but it's kind of not. It's about the Trojan War focusing on Achilles but with some focus on Briseis, and because we're switching between Briseis' first person perspective and Achilles' third person, and I'm not sure like the full intent of that dual narrative, I'm finding it hard to connect to any of the characters. Like I don't need to connect to Achilles and the men, they're all terrible people. But I feel like I should be connecting to Briseis. But then again, I'm like, is that a narrative choice? That, yeah, she's silenced even within her own story, within her own life. I don't know, I don't have a conclusion, I just have thoughts. But I will update you again when I finish this, which I'm hoping, unless something comes up, will be this afternoon. And I will let you know my entire thoughts at the end, although I don't know what more I'll have to say. We'll see how it ends. It's not going to be a happy ending. I'm back. I just finished this. And like the ending of it definitely solidified my thinking about like how, even though it's like promoted and described often as being like the women's story or Briseis' story, it's not, it's Achilles' story, because like Briseis literally says that herself in the end of this, and that once Achilles has died and they leave Troy, that is when her new story begins. I think the ending of this, I mean, it's just so sad. It's just what the women in this story go through is horrific. But it was definitely very impactful. It's a tricky one. This is a book that I thought had the potential to be a 5-star read for me, and it wasn't. Although I did. It's one of those books I don't know that I can say I enjoyed it, because like it's just very sad and depressing and hard to read, and there's like no moments of levity throughout it at all. But I did like it. I liked the way it was written. There were some really insightful passages, but also I think it was written quite simply and easily understandable. I think things like mythology and stuff like that I thought to be quite like academic, or if you're not well versed in mythology, difficult to get into, but I thought this was written in a very simple, understandable way, so I think it's quite accessible. Just yeah, in terms of like narrative style and the way it's written, I think it would be one that I, in like the future, in like a few years time, would definitely want to reread. It's also one of those books that I can see really staying with me, even though it's not a 5-star read. I think it could, upon a reread, gain stars from me, but also will just generally like the themes and the character, like Briseis, I think will stay with me. Earlier I was saying I don't feel that connected to Briseis, but upon finishing it, without realising it necessarily, I think I really do connect to her. Or she's, yeah, like, yeah, I know I just finished it, so it's not really indicative of if she will stay with me, but I think as a character she has that potential. Yeah, I think it's one of those books that is gonna has the potential to stay with me, and it's one of those ones that sort of sneaked up on me in like how I think about it. I feel like I should do a follow-up months from now to see if it still does. This is a clip from months later. I filmed all these other clips you've seen in February of 2022, and it is now the 2nd of September 2022. Yeah, I just never got around to editing this video because life, and also I'm lazy. But whilst editing, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to jump in and give my thoughts, since I literally said myself I would like to know months down the line if this book stayed with me and like what I still think of it. So here I am to do that. Just quickly, this book has stayed with me. I do actually think about it every now and then, more so than other books that I've read this year. It is still one that I would like to reread at some point in the future, and I also want someone else I know to read it, like my sister or someone, because she also likes Greek myth. She's also a feminist, and I just think it would be an interesting book to talk about. I think if you've got like feminist friends who are all cool with reading more intense personal stories, this would be quite a good book for a book club, I think, because all those things I was saying about, like, is the narrative choice for this purpose or this purpose, and I can't decide, I think those would be good conversations to have with friends. So yes, it has stayed with me. I do still want to reread it. I would recommend it as a book club read if it's the kind of book that a book club you are involved with would want to read. It's also, months down the line, made me want to read more Greek mythology again. And I think I said that at the time, but since then I've not read any Greek mythology particularly. So now I have a hankering for it. So yeah, that's my months down the line update. Ta-da. I liked it. I think it's accessibly written, not in terms of topics, because obviously they're very heavy topics, a lot of violence, a lot of rape, yeah, just like very heavy topics in terms of the treatment of women and children, and you know, lots of death, but I feel like those things are sort of a given in terms of Greek mythology, so if you're aware that that's what you're getting as you go into it, and you like Greek mythology, or you want to see like a different perspective, I would recommend this one. I did, yeah, like I said, I don't know that enjoy is the right word, but I did appreciate it, and I would definitely read Pat Barker's other books, which I don't know if it's like a sequel to this or if it's just also Greek mythology about other women, but it's definitely one I'm going to look into. But overall, I'm glad I finally read this. So that is going to be it for this Feminist Friday. Let me know if you have read the book, what you thought of it, if you've read Pat Barker's other book, whether you think that is worth a read, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!